see who's in the audience so I can set this correctly. How many are actually application developers here?
On this side.
How many are actually selling to application developers? Yeah. And how many are from the VC community and the advisor community? No, actually, that's unusual. Usually it's about 2/3 of the audience when I do these type of things. Right, I'm probably going to move around a bit, so my voice will carry because I'm quite loud. I'm really pleased that if I was trying to follow different people to do a presentation of this type of content, then following the Chief Wonka and then an advertising description really puts things into context. I think the presentation from Chief Wonka was, I don't know about you, but that was illuminating. It actually said what everybody has been thinking. Why are we doing this sometimes? You know, it's great that it was actually cool and it was awesome and it was pretty and it was beautiful and they were spending money, you know, £60,000 on this app, another £60,000 on that app, and they were making £2,000 and £20,000 and £30,000. And so that's why when you come and talk about a dry subject like this, understanding the best distribution models to achieve full monetization of your app, you go, crikey, this is the holy grail. This is the thing that everybody is asking themselves all the time. So, do I have an answer for this? Sadly, no. If I did, I'd be not here. I'd be sailing somewhere into the distance and enjoying life without coming to a place like this. The good news is I'm not here to sell you anything. So this is just some experiences that we have gained. A couple of slides before we go into who am I and who's We7. And I apologize to the camera, I do move. We7 is a music service. It's all about being able to basically provide some personal detail that allows you to come to the site or go to the application on the phone. Oh, there we go. Yeah, no problem. And basically it allows you to come along, put the name of a song, name of an artist, and actually play that song. It'll also allow you to request whatever song that you want, or album as well. And we have 3 million users in the UK using the service. It's backed by myself, some VCs, and Peter Gabriel. We have 9.5 million songs, and we have it online, and obviously we have it on mobile. And it's been quite an interesting journey. And I'll talk a little bit about the journey when we go through some of trying to find out this holy grail. Now, at this point, I'm going to get rid of all the marketing stuff, so there's no fancy images, there's no music, there's nothing but you and I. And start with this element. I suppose when you're looking at this, the point is, how do we make money? And everything I've heard so far, historically and today, especially from Chief Wonka, was brilliant. Because who is making money out of this? 1 or 2 people are. The vast majority of us are not. And why? It's because, I mean, look at, is the Chief Wonka gone? Yeah, it's a shame. Because if you look at what he was saying, when you actually went through it all, he kept on saying and reinforcing that he wasn't doing it for money. That we didn't do this to actually earn money. We didn't do this to actually feel that we were going to be rich. Yet they were still putting thousands of dollars, if not, what is it, $1 million they were going to put into that project. And the challenge is, most of us in this room probably haven't got the luxury of playing with $1 million or $100,000 or $60,000 to bring something to market. So we have to look at it, and this is where you probably have to take a step back. You can either have a lifestyle business where you really enjoy the PR, and you can go and actually do wonderful presentations like Chief Wonka did, and say, isn't this fabulous? And look at all the press, and my mum's really proud of me. Or you can try and find a business model. We do music at We7. Finding a business model in music is a nightmare, because every song that's played has to be paid for. And the cost of that song is actually much greater when you were hearing things from an advertising point of view, where they were talking about $1 eCPM. So to earn $10,000, you've got to have what? 100 million impressions? You know, what cost of one song could cost anywhere between up to 0.5 pence. if somebody chose it at the time. So trying to balance out there between what you want to do from an app and why you want to do it is quite a challenge. So when you try to monetize it, the biggest thing that you have to have is you've got to have customers. You've got to have somebody who wants the app. And this is I suppose, the single biggest thing of any distribution model. It's a case of, have you got enough customers? 1 in 3 people made money in the, how many people? There were 3 people who put their hands up and said they had advertising in their app. Only 1 person said they made money from it. Be interesting to know what each of the apps were. We'll leave that for now. But to get customers, to actually get people to use the service, to actually create the number of impressions for advertising to work, to create a number of downloads so you can actually monetize the app and actually get it from a paid-for app, to create the situation where you can get upgrades is a really difficult thing to do. So you should challenge yourself right from the very beginning. What am I trying to achieve? Am I doing this because I'm a great developer and I want to create a great app? And somebody might like it, and there are people who that happens to, or am I doing it to make money? Because if you have that mindset, it's different. Chief Wonka was earning money. I know why they're getting money to put into apps, because he's so passionate and enthusiastic about what they're doing. The creativity journey is the thing that has the value. That's what people are putting money into them for, that creative element of it, not necessarily tied together with the value proposition. And what would really work, and this is what the Americans do quite well, is to take a company like what Chief Wonka had and then bring together a commercialized marketing team and force them together to actually go after creating a business. Things like Tap Tap and Angry Bird and all of the ones that we'd all love to be able to get hold of. Jelly Defense at the moment, for example, I'm suddenly become addicted to. Things like that don't happen by, wow, we want to make this look beautiful on its own. Things like that happen because the whole lot is thought through. So when you start from the top, in terms of how do you get customers, we all know without exception, or we should all know without exception, that for people to find your apps is the key. And how do they find the apps? We all know app stores, whether it be the iPhone or whether it be the Android marketplace, search is shit. It doesn't work. You're not there. Okay, there's people coming out now who are actually doing App Store search sites, and there's a lot of VC money going behind App Store search sites at the moment. But guess what? That isn't how users find the apps, because it has to be in the situation where they find the app in a most simplistic way possible. They may not have even been looking. And so SEO, as we said, doesn't exist. However, SEO is starting to gain traction for apps in the standard Google juice type of way. So when you're reaching out, again, social is becoming critical in terms of the monetization of apps. Why? Because it's all about reach. It's all about reaching more people. The only way an ad-funded model works, and We7 does an ad-funded model in its music side, is because there is enough reach. So you're talking about not tens of millions of impressions or hundreds of millions of impressions. You're talking about potentially billions of impressions. Because it's only at that type of level that you start to make any real money from advertising. If you're not selling it, and we'll talk about free versus paid for in a second, then where is your money going to come from? But reaching out, Facebook, Twitter, now more, if your app is more orientated towards business type skills, LinkedIn is actually becoming quite attractive, actually, to get the word out there. As I said, Google Juice is really starting to work as well. If you've put a lot of effort into normal SEO, not just for your website, but also for your app, at one time, We7 apps would never appear on Google in any shape or form. Now they're starting to automatically come within 2 or 3 impressions of the We7 website. And when we type in, and show how much effort we've put into SEO, if you type the most generic term music into Google, We7 is the first one, even though I would guess probably only 10% of you in the room has actually heard of We7. And that's why doing the things are important. And the reason why I'm going through this list is because in real terms, It's about taking apps which are brilliant, because I'm sure none of you have crap apps. You only find out we've got crap apps after the fact, not before the fact. But it's because all of these is what marketing is all about, and that's the key. It is about the only way you can monetize anything is to have customers. And the only way you can actually gain customers is by doing all the right things so you understand who he or she is, or who they are, and what is going to actually create as a result of that. So marketing, and when I say marketing, I don't just mean digital marketing. It's great that Barnes & Noble have this great big poster in the window, download our app now to buy your books. They understand their customers are walking past. And it's brilliant to do that. I mean, I was in Pizza Express a couple of weeks ago with my wife, giving her a treat. And then she kicked me. And it was brilliant. They had on the table, they had a little piece of paper which says, free Wi-Fi, order your meal at any time, and pay your bill. And they had a QR code on the bottom of it, which I just scanned on my iPhone. It loaded up the app, and it was brilliant. I had the meal, they gave me my receipt, I just put in the number, and actually it paid like that, and I still don't know how, and it said, get up and go. And have you ever thought about leaving a restaurant when you haven't actually talked to the waiter, and you get up and go? And then as I was walking out, the waiter was going, because he hadn't actually had anybody pay for it using the app before. And I said, pay for it with the app. And he went, oh, right. And he went rushing to his till, and then he suddenly said, yeah, it works, that's fine. I felt like getting a free pizza for using it. But actually, even on the tube coming here this morning, this guy got up, and there was an advert on the tube, which actually was for cabby.com. And he just got his QR thing, he clicked on it, and he downloaded the app while he was actually, well, he didn't download the app, he actually got the link because he was underground, so he couldn't get the connection. So it's not just about digital marketing. We live in the digital world, but true marketing is, again, knowing where your customers are, how you're going to get them across that line to do something. There is a new breed of PR people coming out called viral seeding experts. Just take great care with these guys. Some of them are going to be brilliant, but they're going to promise you the world that they can take your app, and by doing something magic and virally infect the world, they're going to be able to make your app be the best monetized or the best grossing app on the planet. Anybody who is trying to do viral seeding knows how difficult that is. But again, I don't know if you've seen there's a great YouTube video about social gurus, social media gurus, and basically says, give me 20 grand and then I'll walk away, is the fundamental element of it. But it can work, but you do need to be very careful that you're getting the right guys and you're working with them on that basis. If you can find the people, then engagement content, and you can't go anywhere in this world today without the word gamification coming out. This is all about how do you engage. And to put things into context, I mean engagement across the whole environment. The content that you produce and the content that you're working with. Our mobile apps, we try to be different with our mobile apps. We deliver music. What makes us different? What makes us different is the fact if the connection's not there, or you don't have a data tariff, the music will still play. If you're in the tube, it will still play. It doesn't rely upon the connection. We've disconnected the broadcast from the playing. Now, that makes this slightly different, but that doesn't mean we actually have engagement and the content is right. We had great Facebook pages, but over time, we got to from 20,000, 30,000, got to 38,000 in about 18 months. When we changed our attitude of how we communicated, when the content that we were delivering to our audience was much more in their view rather than our view, then in the last 6 weeks we've added 12,000 new friends to Facebook just by changing our tone of voice. Quite often we get caught up with our own product rather by looking at what does our consumer want from the product. And obviously reviews of all sorts count. And when I say reviews, I mean reviews from a PR point of view, but also obviously the reviews in the applications themselves. We got this wrong big time. We7's music apps, we have a free version and we have a free version. One free version is totally free. It's a radio format. You can actually choose to start a radio, and we get great reviews for that. Another one is actually free, but you need a £10 a month subscription. So what happened as a result of that, we had two types of reviews coming through. Number one was shit, and number two was awesome. So the net reviews is actually in the middle, which actually makes it very, very poor. People look, in the absence of anything, will look at that stuff, as you know. And we got it wrong because the people who saw it was a free app, who didn't realize that you needed a subscription, even though we said all over the actual instructions and all over about the application, this needs a subscription, people get upset because guess what? They don't read. And so reviews do count, but again, you have to have the mindset that goes outside of a developer's mindset and moves into a marketer's mindset. Because if you don't, you end up, people won't use the app just because it's there, on most cases. So what we're trying to do here is to try to get to the point where to make any money, to make things work, it is about customer acquisition, and thereafter it's about customer retention. It's as simple as any 101 marketing campaign that you have to do, but it's actually about joined up marketing campaigns. That's why, again, I love the Chief Wonka, because they were throwing up about these PR elements and things like that, which are single points in time, and they create spikes, but they don't create longevity. They don't create sustainability. And so if you decide that you are going to be a free application and you're going to push forward with advertising, as the funding mechanism, you need to have scale. If you don't have scale, you do not get any money out of advertising in any shape or form. You might get £24 CPM for running videos, but if you only ever do 1,000 impressions in a month, you're going to get 24 quid. And that's as simple as that side of it. If you're going to be paid for, well, then how are you going to drive that people? And all of this, they come back to how do you monetize any application, is coming back to how do you drive customer acquisition and customer retention. So one thing that you can do is always within this stuff is try to push forward before launch, is to actually get the timing sorted out. And how do you create a compelling environment which creates buzz? And this is what really I see happen time and time again, is things are done in a serial form without any thought about how do you actually join all the dots. Yes, you can get onto new and noteworthy on day one. Brilliant, you get a spike on day one. But as again, Chief Wonka showed with all of his charts, what does that mean on day two? If there's nothing there to actually create those activities, these are the holy grails again. Getting into new and noteworthy, getting into your category top 10, getting to be the app top 10 across iTunes, across Android Marketplace, gives you an element of momentum. But just because you get there, as it was shown, doesn't mean anything unless you actually do a whole series of things that are marketing surrounds it, which gives you that element of sustainability. So what we did, for example, to get into an element of sustainability, we actually use mobile advertising for ourselves to actually promote the app, to actually get that momentum at the right time, because we wanted to create a spike which actually got us into here. Getting into there, again, is that balance. But we do an ad-funded free app, and guess what? There's no adverts in it. We made the decision that for the time being, until we get enough level of scale, it is not worth the disruption of the user's experience to put adverts in it. But we don't mind using other people's environment to advertise our product to try and actually drive customer acquisition. These have worked quite well. Pay for install. The gamification world has actually worked exceptionally well. The idea of being able to get some reward for doing something, magic beans or whatever it may be. I know from my own experiences, I love playing Call of Duty. I know how many hours I spent trying to get to the gold sniper gun. I had to go through all the levels before I actually got to that one. And it was not 5, 10, 15 minutes. It was hours, days, if not weeks, if my wife ever found out. Now, obviously, pay for install is being banned by by Apple, so you can't do that anymore. But you can still do it on Android, but you can do pay for watch. And that's where people have switched to say, well, see the video of the app to actually pull you in. And for that, you will actually get rewarded with whatever the reward system is of the organization that's there. And, you know, we talked about reviews earlier on. And again, I'm just trying to highlight just certain areas which hopefully give you a nudge in the right direction. So free versus paid, license versus full, generic versus niche, and plan for new versions. What's this all about? These are your businesses. You've got to decide each of these. Each of these will have direct consequences in customer acquisition. So if you want to have more users than not, you go for free. And if you're not too worried about the users, you can go for paid. Then people go for, well, light versus full. Well, I want to start with free, and then I want to upgrade them. You then have to, it doesn't happen by magic. You have to give them those steps for people to actually upgrade and the reason to upgrade. And again, it was beautiful seeing the Chief Wonka's statistics when he actually showed how many upgrades that were there, how many actual installs. And he, you know, as he said, some of his stuff was beautiful and some of his stuff was awesome. This, I don't think, has actually been really picked up as much as it should do. If you are generating a generic game or a generic application, then you are up against the most noise out there that's possible. Trying to be able to get above that noise is really, really difficult. However, if you're actually pushing for niche products, you have a particular camera app that does something better than anybody else, and you forget about all the other stuff. Again, in that situation, getting that one point out creates a team of, you know, a tribal impact where people who are in that environment, who want that feature, will tell everybody about it in a way that it's never been driven before. And so, again, understanding the differences between one app and another, your app versus your competitor's app, is important. And the other one is that when you're bringing apps out, plan for new versions before you launch it. And what I mean by that is don't throw all your magic dust into the app. I love developers. I've had development teams all over the world, but they do things because they can. And they produce this app and go, this is wonderful. And if we do this, it can do this. And if we do that, it can do that. And if we do that, it can do something else as well. The most successful apps that are out there are single function apps. They do one thing magnificently. Whether it's a game, whether it's a camera, whether it's a telling you where you are on the map, whatever it may be, they are brilliant at doing one or maybe two things at most, absolutely outstandingly well. But you can still plan on new versions. So don't ram it all in the front. Get right what you believe the user really wants. Because again, the reason why this is important is because if you're going to monetize, it is about customer acquisition. And if you're going to monetize thereafter, it's about customer retention, to be able to suck people who are already using your environment to bring them in again and again and again. So just to finish off, sadly, I would love to say I had an answer to all of this. And I think the reality is that there isn't a black and white answer. You know, you'll hear about go for ad-funded, it's the best thing in the planet. It can be good. And it can really work if you have no licensing costs and you can get scale. If you can't achieve those, then look at paid. In the paid situation, again, are you happy with getting £3,000, £4,000 to £1,000 per app or £30,000 per app? As we saw from the previous conversations. It can be done, but it is about the basics of marketing. You know, I look at it this way and put it into context like this. If you've got a great app and nobody knows about it, then it's dead. If you have a poor app and everybody knows about it, like Microsoft, for example, when they do things, then actually it can work really well. But if you have a great app and great marketing, then the magic starts to come together. Things like Angry Birds happen, things like, Cut the Rope happens, things like Camera Plus happens. And in afterthought, when you get everybody up on the stage, they say, yeah, it just happened we didn't do anything, it just happened. It probably happened because the work was done. Because your app has to work, there's no argument about that. But actually, for 99% of us, there is actually no magic in this. It is all about hard work. So what is the best distribution model for monetization? I can't give you the answer for that one, but I can tell you hard work is actually the biggest reason why most things succeed, or succeed and fail in the case of the Chief Wonka. So that's all I have to say. Any questions? Actually, before going to questions, who in the room has felt that their app and that they've done something that they felt was really successful in distribution? Anybody? Go on, tell us your story. Go on, in the black.
So our app is an Android app. And we actually, thanks. So originally we built this as a demo for some underlying technology.
Yeah.
And we did quite a lot of the things that you suggested, actually. The first thing we did was to build an alpha group of people who we knew were passionate about the product. And then when we launched on the App Store, we used as much of the tech media as we could to create a buzz. We used our alpha and beta groups to download en masse, to push the app up into the top 10. And it worked out pretty well for us. I mean, we got to the top 5 on Android in paid, and we managed to stay there for a year or so.
Has it covered development costs?
That's a good question. I'm going to say yes.
Brilliant. And that's, there are more people who are covering the development costs than ever before, but it is that situation about taking the big picture and actually joining up the dots between what do you want to achieve, how do you get your customers there. The guy behind you also said he did something that was successful. Come on, tell everybody else, how was that?
I developed the Waitrose Christmas app last year. It was only supposed to be in the market for about a month, just during December. And for the agency I was working for, we developed it for iPhone and Android. And it got featured on the iPhone and Android store at the same time for a week or two. And during that period, we had about 100,000 downloads. So we thought that was pretty successful. Which is brilliant.
You got the name of Waitrose behind that, which actually creates a momentum. And timing was great. Anybody else who wants to share what they felt was successful?
Hi, Emmanuel from Magic Solver. So we started also launching apps for 2 years on iPhone and Android. And the first apps was really hard for us to really get this visibility. So we get a couple of 1,000 downloads. And we really started 2 years ago getting the first momentum for our Christmas calendar, Advent calendar. It's been on top of the App Store in UK, in Germany, in different countries. So we just get 300,000 downloads in just a couple of days. And building that, we're building other apps after around events of the year, like the World Cup calendar, events during the year. And we got now over 6 million downloads.
Fabulous.
And it's being there at the right moment, building the right application.
So what you've done is create a core application which can actually be morphed into the different things like Christmas calendars, sports calendars and things like that, and that's actually picked up from that? Or have you actually, because again, one of the things that tends to happen is people say, that app didn't work, I'll now create a brand new app and move on. And that's why you keep getting this spike rather than the continuous sustainability.
Yeah. So key points for us is building an ecosystem, and we build it around app discovery. Because we share with you, it's really tricky today for a lot of developers and publishers getting visibility on the App Store. And that's why inside our apps, we help other developers to get visibility.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we are building this ecosystem and is kind of self-developing.
That's brilliant. Any questions at all? Thanks for sharing that with us. No? Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.
Oh,